All right, so we have Jason Buttrill in with us, and Stu, of course, the executive producer of the program, and I am your congenial host, Glenn Beck. Last night, Ukraine did exactly what Putin said don't do. 2 days ago, he signs in a doctrine saying you use any of these kind of missiles that are coming from, even conventional missiles, coming from, a nuclear-powered nation. We'll consider that an act of war, and between us, Ukraine, and whichever country that is specifically, meaning us, it seems like madness, I think on our side, and it seems like madness that he would use nukes and respond. It doesn't say it's a guarantee to use nukes, but this gives him reason to believe that this was a NATO strike now. And so he could strike NATO. My guess is he's just going to pound Ukraine in some place where it really hurts them. That's kind of where I hope the best case scenario is just a pounding in Ukraine, which would be horrible and horrendous. However, it's better than striking into a NATO country, which we would have to respond then. I mean, Biden has put us at the brink of World War III, and we might know how this goes in the next 24 hours. We might have a very good idea whether we're going to be in World War III or not in the next 24 hours. Jason, do you agree, disagree? Where am I wrong?
What's dangerous is the threat of that is obviously a lot higher this morning. I think Putin's response will probably be to take out those missiles as quickly as possible. We know that Russia was planning a larger, deeper attack into Ukraine. They've been building up troops. The North Korean troops allows him to do that because the North Koreans can now guard the lines of communication in the rear. They can guard the facilities in the rear, the ammo depots, all that stuff, freeing up the Russian troops to get to the border. That's what the establishment, defense people on our side have seen. And that's probably why they said, let's go ahead and fire these missiles and start taking out those rear areas as quickly as possible to stop that buildup. That's how they're looking at it. Putin right now is trying to figure out how to respond because now they've greenlit that. We've are striking in Russia the lines behind the border. Now he's looking at, well, okay, so what would be like a good response? Well, the threat of a nuclear weapon is there. That's always been their thing. That's been their thing since the start of the war. It's a real threat.
But it's still madness. I mean,
yeah,
you would hope that there's enough people. I mean, some people in Russia and some people in the United States and our own Pentagon would use it. They would think, you know what, let's just get it out of the way. Let's get it done. But I don't think Putin would nuke a city. Do you?
No. Yeah. Putin's not going to nuke a city. I think that the nuclear threat primarily and the biggest threat will be a tactical nuclear weapon.
What's the difference?
So tactical nuclear weapon is a low-yield weapon made specifically for the battlefield. So let's say there's one of these, as you're calling them, the ATACMS. I'm going to steal that, by the way, because it's awesome. Let's say there's some ATACMS surrounded by several battalions of Ukrainian troops. Well, the only way to be for sure that they take it out is to use a tactical low-yield nuclear weapon that will take out that entire battle space, including the ATACMS. That's probably the more likely scenario if a nuclear is used.
Nobody's ever used a low-yield nuclear weapon, have they?
Oh, that's a good question.
On a battlefield?
I'm not exactly sure. About that. We probably used something very close to the same yield.
Close, but we've used them for bunker busters, but I don't believe they were nuclear.
Right.
They were the strongest bunker buster penetrating bomb that we had, but I don't think it was low-yield nuclear.
Right. And that would still be a big international faux pas if they did something like that, and that would be escalatory. And we would see that. We would probably get word that something like that's about to happen because those are heavily monitored. We'd see them being transported from wherever they're being stored to launchers, and then the entire world would kind of hold their breath. Well, then the question is, how do we respond? Mm-hmm. Do we allow them to press the button on it and fire that missile, or do we send actual U.S. assets in to take out the areas inside Russia so they don't even have time to press the button? Then it escalates to a completely different level.
Yeah, we're going in the wrong direction here.
Then we're going in the wrong direction.
Going the wrong direction, which is very concerning. Why would we do this 2 days after he said this will, even if it's a foreign missile system, even if it's non-nuclear, it will be war between us and the United States. He didn't say United States. He said us and that foreign nuclear power. Why would we do this right after that?
I still think I go back to regime survival. I think that
our regime,
as far as the DoD security military complex, that's how I see this. I think that they are terrified of any change in the status quo with the Trump administration. I think that they would love to see us push to a point of no return where, no, we can't do the things that Trump said that he was going to do. We can't alter, the diplomacy and the security posture in that area. We can't go for a deal. We are locked into this position. That's how they see it. And I think they are driving us to a point of no return where Trump and his cabinet has no choice but to continue with business as usual, how it's been for the past 4 years. That's the way I see it. That's the only reason that makes sense 2 months before they take power. It's the only thing.
So do we expect a response today? I mean, it would seem natural that they would respond today.
I think that I think the Russians have to make moves on the ATACMS as soon as possible, because now you're targeting everything they were planning for an offensive and massing troops and moving, on Ukraine, which is what they're planning to do. I think you have to take out the immediate threat, which is the ATACMS. I think you have to do that. So I'm sure they're planning right now, well, how do we get that done? It's not going to be easy because we have air defense assets. We've put some things in place so that they can't do that. So it's not going to be easy. That's when you have the generals over Putin's shoulders saying, well, it doesn't matter if we miss with 5 conventional cruise missiles. If we get 1 tactical nuke in there, then we make sure that we take out the entire area. That's when things start escalating. I personally do not think Putin is stupid enough to go that direction. And that's actually what the old regime is, our regime is planning on as well. He's threatened this, but he knows he can't do it. He's a madman if he does it. They know he's not a madman. He's a bad man, but he's not a madman. They think that he won't do it, so they're going to continue to push that red line. There is a point of which, like as I said, of no return, where they have no choice, and then you're locked into a much deeper conflict. The question now is, where is that?
So, I think the regime change or the regime survival is absolutely valid. I think that, that's why I said, back when, September, when we were talking about what could happen if Trump won. Assassination. There could be terrorist strikes here in the United States, but they also had the war option, just embroil us in a war and collapse it. I have been worried about that moment where all of our enemies would say, get him now. Now would be that last time. As Trump comes into office, especially with things turning around where he's kind of the popular guy, where he's starting to turn everybody kind of around and end this nonsense, it strikes me as if I'm the enemy of the United States, we're most vulnerable right now, but you got to knock us out. You can't, you better kill the king. Okay. So wouldn't it be in the BRICS nations, this new, they are planning on collapsing our economy anyway. Wouldn't it be kind of in their advantage to start embroil us in a war? Not a nuclear war, but a war.
Yeah, wanting to do it and being able to do it are 2 entirely different things. And I don't see, it makes perfect sense for them to goad us into a war in the Middle East, or goad us into a war, let's say, over in Taiwan or something like that. Mm-hmm. Getting us more involved in the Ukraine-Russia war seems way too, crazy for them to try and, really push and get us more involved. I personally don't see that happening. I see them wanting to avoid that as much as possible, but getting us stuck in another war in a different part of the globe that we, will waste billions and billions and trillions of dollars on, I absolutely see that as a strategy. I see them thinking more long-term. They've been very methodical and careful about it so far. And you're talking about the Chinese, who are probably even higher at the table than the Russians
who
are.
look like they just cut communication cables.
That is wild to me. I don't
Explain what happened if you don't know.
So there's multiple communications cables that go through
Finland,
Sweden, Norway, that area,
and Lithuania.
Yeah,
and they cut those cables. Now, Lithuania and Finland are Cold War Soviet states, and Russia has said they're ours, and we've been saying no, we're going to make them NATO countries. Congratulations, they're on our side. And they've been freaked out by this war. Well, the Chinese ship, we believe it was Chinese, went over these cables right at the same time they were cut. So did the Chinese cut these cables? Somebody knows. They were cut by somebody. Is it a coincidence that they went out the moment those ships were over those cables? I don't know. But, there's something going on. And then, British Airways.
Yeah.
British Airways lost all of their ability to communicate in any way, shape, or form with the planes and the towers. It was an IT glitch and grounded planes all over the world. Luckily they weren't in the sky when this glitch happened. But, Putin has always said it's not going to be fought with nuclear war. It will be fought with ones and zeros.
Right.